In today's show, a deep dive on Scoot Henderson, what he's done so far his rookie season, what he still needs to do, and what is his ceiling. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep on Scoot Henderson. To me, Scoot is the swing piece of whether this rebuild is in its nascent stages of becoming something, or this is like square zero in a 15-step process. The Blazers, have a lot invested in Scoot Henderson. They drafted him third overall. By drafting him, by choosing to keep the draft pick, they kind of ushered Damian Lillard out the door, although they probably wanted to do that anyways, judging by some other moves they did and did not make. And very specifically, not only does he overlap with Damian Lillard, but he overlapped with Anthony Simons, who's the best player on the team a little bit. Like, they have some real organizational investment in Scoot being the guy. It has been a rocky start to Scoot's career. It's been a little bumpy. He's been better lately, and what I want to dive into now I'll share this caveat here in the first 2 minutes of the episode because I think some people will need this, and I want to give it to you. Nothing is definitive at this point in Scoot's career. He's a young person, right? He's a teenager. It is too early to say things. He's 20. He turned 20 on February 3rd. But he's 3 weeks into his 20th year, right? Like, none of this is definitive. This is what we know now and what I think now based on what we have seen. So I want to dive into what's good, what's been bad, and what is Scoot's ceiling based on what we know, or what his ceiling might be if that has changed at all, and what kind of Scoot means to the organization. That's what we will do in today's show. Let's start with the good, though. This is kind of a throwback. If you all have been rocking with me for a long time, this can't be many of you, because most of you, thankfully, the show has grown a great deal over the last 3-4 years. But if you have been following my work since I was a beat writer for the Oregonian many moons ago, I used to write a weekly stats column, or kind of just like a weekly kind of check-in column called The Good, the Bad, and the Nerdy, when I would check in on a good thing that happened, a bad thing that happened with the team, and kind of share some nerdy stats along the way. This is kind of rooted in that. I'm bringing back, it's not the exact format, but it's rooted in that approach. So let's start with the good, then we'll go to the bad, then we'll sprinkle in some nerdy along the way. Here's the good deal with Scoot. Last 15 games, you've seen it. You've seen the vision. Over the last 15 games, averaging 14 points, 2.8 boards, 4.3 assists, shooting 40.9% from the floor, 41% from the floor, 35% from three, and 88% from the free throw line on 5 attempts a game. 4.9 free throw attempts a game, shooting 87.7, 88% from the free throw line. Getting to the free throw line, making free throws. Really good. Making threes, still below league average, but a big jump over what he was early in the season, and taking about 3.5 a game. If he's a below average 3-point shooter, but right around there, like if he's a 35% 3-point shooter for his career, he's going to be good. No doubt about it. It's not the separating skill for him. We'll talk about that more in the show, but like, if Scoot was averaging 14 and 4 and shooting 35% from three and 88% from the line for the season, I don't think anyone would be freaking out. Like, maybe they would say, hey, he hasn't had like a string of monster games in a row, or even like, 2 back-to-back games where it's like, that dude is it, where he's just like so good, clearly the best player on the floor type of thing, or clearly the Blazers' best player on the floor. Like, there hasn't been that, right? There haven't been those moments. But I think like, but if he was just putting up these numbers as he has over the last 15 games, it's a little over a month, and this is since about January 12th, if you go back to Scoot's last 15 games, then he's averaging, 14 and 4 on decent shooting. Not shooting very well from 2, but like decent shooting from 3, better shooting from 2 than he has all year, and getting to the free throw line and making free throws. If he was doing that all year, there would be no nerves. I think there's some nerves around Scoot because he hasn't been very good. But like if he was just as productive as he's been over the last little bits, the last month, 5 weeks, this is fine. Like this is what rookies look like, and he'll get better. And I think that's the good part. His floor is probably a solid NBA starter. Like I think that's kind of what he's established. I think there was some concerns maybe he was less than that because he was really struggling to begin the season. I don't think people outside Portland. I don't think a lot of people have watched the Blazers. When I hear people worry about Scoot, I feel pretty earnestly that you should listen to this podcast because I watch the team all the time. But I think people in the market here, and if you're listening to the program, you probably watched at least many Scoot games, except for the handful of you that are unable to for a variety of reasons. But like, I think there was some concern that maybe he was. I don't think there was concern locally that he was like not an NBA player, but I think broadly there was. And like, I think over the last little bit, it's like, yeah, you can see it. You don't need to squint. You don't need to panic. Like you can just see that he's been good, and it's not this like, it's not a thing. He's to me, he's a supercharged Ricky Rubio is like his floor right now. And more on that name later. Put that name in your back pocket for later in the episode. Like the good, he can really pass. Dude can really pass. Like that is his skill right now, is that he can, he's a willing passer and he is a capable passer. And when he plays at a speed that isn't just only turbo button, at the beginning of the year, he only played at 1,000 miles an hour, and it was to his detriment because he was just trying to turbo into everyone's chest and past him. He'll still do it from time to time. He'll try to get someone, and you'll see him do, particularly with his left hand, he'll hook a defender as he goes by him. He's just like, I'm going this way. I'm stubbornly going this way. He's kind of gotten that change of pace, particularly in the half court, like understanding the importance of not just driving 1,000 miles an hour, but driving 17 miles an hour, and then 85, and then 41, and then 75, and then 100, and then slow back down to 2 or 3 miles an hour and beat someone by decelerating. He's starting to get that skill a lot better. And when he plays with that pace, like you see his playmaking flash. You see wraparound passes to Jabari Walker. You see little handoff flip insides to Duop Reith and DeAndre Ayton. He's played way better with DeAndre Ayton recently as they both have become more comfortable with one another. Scoot Henderson leads all rookies in assists. He leads all rookies in potential assists. He leads all rookies in assists adjusted, which is a stat from NBA.com that includes assists, secondary assists. Well, that's when you make the pass one pass away. So assists, secondary assists, and assists that lead to free throws. So the Blazers, like, mind you, are the worst shooting team in the league. Scoot's part of that, but the worst shooting team in the league. They're they're last in the league in effective field goal percentage. They're last in the league in true shooting percentage. Give Scoot shooters and give him better rim rollers. DeAndre Ayton stops his rim roll all the time in the mid-range. Is where he's comfortable, but give him someone who truly rolls to the rim and give him shooters around him, like a really good pick and pop big. Maybe Duop Reith becomes that. Or maybe he just stays solid because that's what Duop is. But give him shooters on like actually spreading the floor around him, and give him a better rim roller. And like Scoot's going to be a really good passer because he's good at it. This is on a team that has a clunky offense with not enough, just well below average complement of shooters around him. Scoot is still just like in terms of volume because he's playing 25 minutes a night and he makes decisions, like good decisions with the ball in his hands for the most part. Sometimes he makes bad ones, but I think he was early in the years making terrible ones, but recently he's made much better ones. Leads all rookies in assists, and he's and like I said, in potential assists, which is like, a pass to someone who misses a shot or could have been if they had made it gone in. Like dude has the chops to be a great playmaker. That's the good. Undeniably good. Much better his last 15 games. Like, it's so obvious if you watch him. Much better. And he has the skills that if he had better coworkers, and the Blazers are, they're going to try to build and get better players on the team, right? If he had better coworkers, better catch and shoot guys, and better pick and roll partners, his skills are already budding and he would be even better. If you played with people that complement what you do best, then you could be what you are, the best version of yourself more often. That's the good. That's good. Undeniable. 2024 Scoot, significantly better than 2023 Scoot. Let's talk about the bad. Because there is that, and I think it would be inappropriate to not address the elephant in the room, and that elephant keeps missing layups. Let's talk about that in the second segment. First, let me tell you about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book, and they want you to get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $100 if you win your bet. $150, if you win your bet. How it works, you go in the app. The app's super easy to use. I think the FanDuel app is as straightforward as they come. You place a bet, any bet you want, $5. You win that bet. Go bet with confidence. The Blazers open up the second half of the season against the defending champion Denver Nuggets on Friday evening in Portland. If you're feeling froggy, bet on the fighting pinwheels. If you're feeling like you want to bet with the heavy favorites, bet on the champs. And if you win that bet, you get $150 to play with. That's $150 bonus bets that'll just show up in your app once you win your bet. And then you can make quick bets on whatever you want. Live same-game parlays. They got exclusive props all up and down the app across FanDuel. Plus, whatever you're looking for, futures bets and all of that. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. That's FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Look, it's the key to building your best version of your business is finding quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It's freaking LinkedIn. It has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. It's LinkedIn. Everyone's already a professional folks, people who work these types of jobs that your small business is going to need. They're already on LinkedIn, so go where they already are. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have all the time and resources to hire. That's why they're constantly finding ways to make that process easier. They've even launched a feature that helps you write your job descriptions, making that process even quicker. That's why 2.5 million small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. So if it sounds like something you can use, why don't you go post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonNBA. That's linkedin.com/lockedonNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. So the good with Scoot is that I think for a lot of the season, you had to say, he's pretty good considering. He's been good considering. I think you can just say over the last 6 weeks, like he just looks like a solid rookie. He's had some games where he looks just like a solid basketball player, but I think there are fewer and fewer caveats. That's if you zoom in. And that's what we do on Locked On Blazers. We zoom in. I think one of the strengths of the show is that I help you zoom in. And I'll continue to do that as best I can. But if you zoom out on Scoot, it's pretty bumpy. It's a lot rougher. He's the reverse Monet. The farther away you get, the worse it looks. Like if you get up close, you can see he's been way better. If you stay far back, it's like, he's the reverse. His season is the reverse Monet. There's no way around it. Dude has shot bricks. According to Clean the Glass, indispensable stats website, they got shooting splits based on accuracy at all the different spots. At the rim, mid-range, long mid-range, short mid-range, all mid-range, corner threes, above the break threes, broken up into all the different spots on the floor. Scoot Henderson is bottom 25% in the league for every single spot on the floor. For at the rim, for short mid-range jumpers, for long mid-range jumpers, for corner threes, for top of the key threes. every single spot on the floor, Scoot Henderson is in the bottom 25% of the league among point guards, like broken up by his position group. Bottom 25% of the league. It's bad. It's bad shooter. He's been like I said, when you zoom out, it looks worse. Let's just like zoom all the way out to his 43 game stats where he's averaging 12.9, 3.0, that's 3 rebounds, 4.7 assists on 37.5% shooting from the field and 31% from 3, an effective field goal percentage of 42.7%. But depending on how you slice it and where you kind of cut the volume for games played and minutes played and all that, like Scoot Henderson is either one of the worst or the worst finisher at the rim in the league, depending on how you want to sort the stats. He on the season is shooting 47.9% in the restricted area, well below the league average. That is north of 60. It's about 61%, but that includes like centers, right? Like DeAndre Ayton shoots 74% in the restricted area because he has good touch and he's 7 feet tall. So like, naturally little guys are going to be a little bit worse, but according to Clean the Glass, Scoot is in the bottom tier at the rim for point guards. He's been really bad. Like I said, last 15 games, like you can see it with Scoot. In the last 15 games, shooting 55% of the rim, much closer to the league average, and a significant jump from his season prior to that last 15 game stretch. Heading into, so this is through January 11th, Scoot was shooting 45.9%, 46% of the rim. Like he's just smoking layups. He's really right-hand dominant around the rim. But even more than that, like just the separation to get off a clean look. The sort of the deceleration skill to like use your speed, use your burst to actually like get into someone's chest, slow down and get a shot off you can make, and not just turbo smash it up there and hope it goes in because you hit the shoot button. Like, he's, I said the league average is 60.1 is 59.9. I apologize. 59.9 in the restricted area. So like even 55 is below the league average, but he's up there. He's up there. Way closer than the 47.9 he is on the season, and way closer than the 45.9 he was through games played on January 11. Like he is, like I said, when you zoom out, it doesn't look so good. So let's zoom out even further for a moment. Just look at him on the season. Guys that are shooting south of 41% on twos. Scoot Henderson is shooting 40.8% on 2-pointers on the year. He is, before I get into this, let me explain my reasoning here. A lot of people think the swing skill for Scoot is shooting threes because that's going to open up his game. I don't think that really matters if he can't make layups. Certainly being able to shoot threes would give him a better way to score, or another way to score that would be more helpful. But like if he can't make layups, it doesn't really matter if he develops into being a league average 3-point shooter, because if he's a well below average finisher, his physical gifts and his athletic gifts don't really matter if he smokes layups. If he can't score amongst the trees, they'll just press up on him from 3 anyways, even if he becomes elite 3-point shooter, and force him into traffic at the rim. He becomes easy to guard. For me, the swing skill is the layups, because if he doesn't become an above average finisher, not even elite, but an above average finisher, he's probably never gets to that like star, borderline star, all-star level, right? Like he just doesn't get there. Making layups is going to be the thing that separates Scoot. And that's why I'm kind of just zeroing in on the 2-point makes. Like I said, on the year, 31% from 3, recently 35% from 3, much better off the dribble from 3 than he is on catch and shoot. He's just more comfortable with his ball in his hands. That's like a thing that the Blazers are going to have to sort out, right? Like typically you think that catch and shoot shots are easier. His comfort zone is the best. Just looking at his shooting splits, a one dribble shot from 3 from Scoot is his most accurate. When he has a little bit chance to catch, pump fake, sidestep, whatever it is, like he's been more accurate there. But the finishing is the key part. And I'm just looking at rookies since the year 2000, the last 24 seasons, who shot under 41% on twos. It is not a flattering group. Teo Maledon, Frank Ntilikina, Emmanuel Mudiay, Jordan Poole, Malik Monk, Emmanuel Quickley. Those guys are pretty good. Kirk Heinrich, Marcus Smart. They made all defensive teams. Marcus Smart's defensive player of the year, but these are not exactly the paragon of offensive stars. This is not the prime of the prime. Guys who shot under 41% under during the rookie season from 2. You know who else? Name on the list is Ricky Rubio. Ricky Rubio was a career floor raiser. He always raised the floor on teams he played for. But he also kind of lowered their ceiling because he had some legitimate limitations. And I think that's the concern for Scoot. Is he supercharged Ricky Rubio? Because if he's supercharged Ricky Rubio, what are you getting from him, right? You're getting a good player. The Blazers need more than that. But the name on this list that you need to know, and this is the name on this list is going to bring you, I'll finish this on the positive side here. There's one guy on this list since the year 2000 in the rookie seasons who have shot under 41% from 2. Like I said, zoom out, reverse Monets, look a little rough, look a little bumpy. Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker's on this list. Kemba Walker has very similar stats to Scoot Henderson. Shout out to listener Giannis, who sent me an email about this back last week, about 6-7 days ago, who said that Kemba Walker has strikingly similar numbers to Scoot Henderson. Kemba Walker's 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th seasons in the NBA, he was an all-star. It took him a little while to get there, but once he established himself, he was very good. He finished 11th in the Rookie of the Year voting. He got some MIP votes his second season, and then by year 6, after 5 years in the league of being solid, he became like a legitimate star and helped the Hornets make the playoffs as their best player and all of those things. Like, I'm not saying that like Scoot's ceiling is Kemba Walker. I'm saying that if you are holding on to hope, like, let me say two things here as I go a little long in this segment. Actually, let me finish that thought in the second segment, or in the final segment, because I think there's important takeaways from Kemba Walker as the best statistical comp in terms of finishers as rookies. So let's talk about that, and let's talk about Scoot's ceiling to close the show, because I think those things are intertwined. First, let me tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to its peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits to LED headlights and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts are guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, baby, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. Still pass first point guard, still Mike Richmond, still listen to Locked On Blazers. Kemba Walker is maybe the best statistical comparison to Scoot in terms of finishers, guys who struggle to finish as rookies. Kemba was 21, not 19 when he came into the league, but guys who really, smaller guards. Scoot's bigger than him, certainly way longer arms, and probably has potential to be a significantly better defender. But like, let's say really high end, he's a Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker mashup. But Kemba, if Kemba is the high end, right, of guys who, what I mean to sort of put those names out there, it's like there aren't a lot of guys who have struggled to score at the level Scoot has struggled to score in his rookie season and have turned into like legitimately very good offensive players. Emmanuel Quickley might end up being a pretty darn good offensive player in the league. Malik Monk is a good offensive player. I think like he's like a bucket. But the rest of the list is not exactly littered with folks who are like, oh, that dude could score. If nothing else, he could score. Like Jordan Poole is on the list, but Jordan Poole in a worse ecosystem is a nightmare this year. It's one of the least efficient players in the league. It's not good. And he was a really inefficient rookie too. And he was was for a while in a perfect spot, and it didn't work out for him. And I don't want to paint Kemba Walker as the ceiling for Scoot, right? But I want to just offer that sort of idea, right? Is that if there is hope, it's like not every single player on this list is awful. It's not the end. There is like an obvious high-level outcome here that exists. It's just that there aren't many. And Scoot would be an outlier. Scoot would be an outlier. The way Kemba is an outlier on this list, Scoot would be an outlier. And we'll see what happens with IQ. Like if Quickly ends up being an all-star in Toronto, then this list has two names that are outliers, and you hope Scoot would join them, right? And I think there's a tendency to say, well, if you ignore the bad parts of Scoot's game, the good ones have been obvious. And I that's why I kind of led with the last 15 games. Like, it's been obvious that he's better. But the whole of the season is, it like exists all in the same plane, right? Like you don't get to cherry pick in terms of like this list I brought up is not like predictive, right? It's not predictive, but it is. It's worth noting that guys who have had struggles on the volume that Scoot has, and I picked guys who were eligible for the minutes per game leaderboard, like rookies who played a bunch to be on that list. Thanks to good people at StatHead for allowing me to look that up. It's a subscription I pay for. I guess I allow myself, but thanks for the people at StatHead for having it. It's Scoot would be an outlier. Kemba Walker would be an outlier outcome. And the Blazers have a lot invested in Scoot being more than that. I don't know, more than Kemba. I think that's a 4-time All-Star. It's a pretty freaking good outcome, right? But like, if he averages like 20 a game for 5 seasons, I think it ended up pretty good. But the like when you draft someone third overall, and you draft someone third overall in the context of the Blazers drafted him third overall, and you start him from day one his rookie season, the Blazers thought he was going to be good. I know Joe Cronin at his midseason press conference said that Scoot Henderson struggled in a way that was very believable. Scoot Henderson did struggle in a way that was very believable, but the Blazers didn't think that was going to happen. No way they start him game one if they thought he was going to struggle like he did. No way. They thought he was going to be much better out of the gates, and he wasn't. And Chauncey Billups dialed back his role and kind of found a place for him to find his comfort zone. And now he's found his comfort zone, and they're going to start him for the rest of the year. And hopefully he continues to play better like he has of late. Nothing about what I have explained in that second segment about Scoot's struggles are incorrect. So it's all factual stuff that I looked up prior to recording this episode, and none of it is set in stone that makes you Emmanuel Mudiay. None of this makes you Emmanuel Mudiay. None of this makes you, Ricky Rubio as your ceiling, or like hopefully you become Kirk Heinrich and make an all-defensive team one year and play on like a gritty Bulls team as a backup, right? Like none of that is definitive. I don't think Scoot's ceiling has dramatically changed. If you thought Scoot was transformational, generational point guard, you should probably still think that. But I thought, and I will say here, is that the expectation for Scoot should be to make an all-star team or an all-NBA team on his rookie contract. If you look at other players who were drafted to be lead guards in the top 5 over the last 8 seasons, that is a reasonable Darius Garland, LaMelo Ball. It's like a very reasonable Anthony Edwards. Like these are very reasonable expectation. These are what folks are. It's what you're drafted to do. Come be the guy. I don't think that should change. I think that what changed for me for Scoot was that the timeline has been dragged out a little bit further. I thought he was going to be ready and better sooner. Do I think he's an all-NBA talent? No, I probably don't right now. I probably don't. I don't, because I think there's too many things that he doesn't do well. Like he has some tools to be good on defense. He's awful on defense right now in a way that young players are often awful on defense. The shooting is there, but he's still below average. The finishing is still a pretty big problem, although he's been much better lately. Getting to the free throw line, game changer, absolute game changer. If he's someone who gets to the free throw line 5 times a game as a teenager, imagine when he's more crafty, gets a better whistle, all of those things. That's a game changer. That's a star level skill. Like, he gets to the free throw line basically as often as anyone on the entire roster. That matters. I think there is still pretty obviously a very good player hiding in some of the big picture struggles. But I think where I have changed my sort of like high-end 95% outcome type of thing is that I don't know if Scoot is an all-NBA type player, but I still think Scoot is going to be a darn good one because I think he has skills and physical tools, super long arms, athleticism. Although he's not a great in-game dunker by any means. I thought he would be a little bit better in-game dunker, but like the athleticism, the length for his position, particularly just wingspan for his position, and the passing ability to be a solid basketball player for a long time. Do I still think he could make an All-NBA team? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I've dialed back my optimism that he will, but here's the thing that changes for the Blazers. If Scoot Henderson is not the guy, but merely a guy, they are still searching for the guy. None of that is set in stone right now. None of it is. But if this season and the way he has performed so far has made you think like this probably isn't the foundational piece to build forward with, and he certainly hasn't been that yet. It's like he still could grow into that, but he certainly hasn't been that yet. Players improve at finishing. Damian Lillard spent the first 2 years under, he's over 50% on the year, which would be better than Scoot is by a fairly significant margin. But like he was, it took him till year 3 to become like a truly solid finisher. If Scoot in year 3 becomes a well above average league finisher while getting to the free throw line above a bunch and still continuing to be an elite passer and an improved shooter, he's going to be a really good basketball player. That seems like a reasonable trajectory. But if he's merely a guy, right? If he's a pretty darn good player, high-level starter, borderline all-star, then the Blazers search for that foundational rock. Like what you need to be really good in the league is a star, right? You need stars. It's what good teams are built on. You need role players off of those stars, but you need stars to get there. And if Scoot's ceiling is that he is a dude and not the dude, the search continues, and it puts a great deal of pressure on Shaedon Sharpe to become the dude. But I think it's just too early to be definitive. I think hopefully in this episode I gave you some reasons to be hopeful and some sort of honest to goodness facts about why there are some red flags about what Scoot has been so far this season. He's been way better lately. If the graph keeps going up, by the end of the season, when we revisit and we say, hey, what did Scoot look like his rookie year? We'll say, for the last 35 games, Scoot was awesome. Scoot was awesome. And so who could be worried? And I'll look back on this episode that I published on February 21st and say, boy, I didn't know. And over the last 6 weeks of the season or 7 weeks of the season, it's like, hey, Scoot was great. Scoot was really stinking good. And you'll be able to point to this and say, here's the direction the graph continues to go. But I think it is worth considering if this beginning first 2/3 of Scoot's rookie season, first 50-some games of Scoot's rookie season, if this has given you some pause about what his ultimate ceiling might be, then what decisions the Blazers make moving forward should also be in some ways centered around what Scoot's ultimate ceiling might be. That is going to do it for today's show. Come back for tomorrow's show, 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. Tell your friends about the podcast. I'll talk to you soon.